Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this media event for the very first FIRA USA, California Agriculture, Robotics, and Technology Forum coming this October right here in Fresno. My name is Gabriel Youtsey. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer of UC Agriculture and Natural Resources, where I lead projects and create partnerships that really support the commercialization and grow innovations that solve California and the world's pressing agriculture, food, and health challenges. Agro-robotics are here right now and really starting to address these challenges by saving water, reducing chemicals, and solving labor problems and challenges. FIRA USA is a pivotal moment as we work to really accelerate these solutions by bringing them together. The top farmers, technology companies, dealer networks, scientists, and educators to launch the first global agricultural robotics focused event for North America right here in the Central Valley. We have a very short speaking agenda planned, followed by a period of question and answer. We're then going to head outside for a brief presentation with agro-robotics companies, Verdant Robotics, who's here in the room. Why don't you raise your hand? Verdant Robotics, they're in the back. NIO Technologies, right here, great. And Blue-White Robotics, they're in the back, excellent. So make sure you talk to them. Finally, there's going to be time for you to conduct one-on-one interviews with the speakers, the robotics companies, and other key partners in the audience, including the Far West Equipment Dealers Association, UC Merced, among others we'll point out shortly. So let me introduce you to our panel of speakers today. First, they're in order here. Walt Duflock, the Vice President of Innovation at Western Growers. Gwendoline Legrand, the co-director of FIRA, the International Forum of Agricultural Robotics. Ashley Swearengin, President and CEO of the Central Valley Community Foundation and the former mayor of Fresno. And Dennis Neff, the Dean of the Jordan College of Agricultural Sciences and Technology here at Fresno State University. So I'm going to ask each speaker to come up for a brief talk. I will come back up to help moderate Q&A session. So Walt, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Gabe. Just echoing that, thanks to everyone for coming. Super excited to be coming back to Fresno in October. As Gabe mentioned, I'm the VP of Innovation for Western Growers. Our members grow over half the country's fruits, nuts, and veg, all that fresh product we like to eat all the time. And labor, even over water and food safety, is their number one challenge. It's both the availability of labor, increasing reliance on immigration labor, and then the cost of labor due to all the regulatory challenges. Those two things are hitting every farming operation right in the head every day. And the only thing harder than farming in California some days is being a farming startup, an agtech startup that's building robots for them. So we're glad that they're here. The number one and two things I want to do from the innovation side of Western Growers is get more conversations started between growers and startups so that we can get the right problems solved with the right economics for the growers. That's important. And we want to make sure these startups have the tools and the capital to scale. We think both of these are in process right now with a lot of different things that we're doing. Happy to go deeper on that. But we think the Fresno event and today's event are a great way to get more of those conversations going with both the growers, our members, and the startups and their partners who can help them sell in markets. So super excited to come to Fresno, super excited to be back here for 3 days and just focused on agtech robotics. I love the World Agri-Food Tech agenda. This one's going to be different.
Hello, good morning everyone. So I'm Gwendoline Legrand coming from France, so I'm co-director of GOFAR. This non-profit organization has been working hard since 2016 to organize the FIRA, the global FIRA in France, in Europe. And this global event, we wanted to launch a special event here in California because we really think that the autonomous systems and robotics for farming is really relevant, and I think we found the good partners and the good co-organizers with the University of California and Western Growers. So very, very happy to be here. Sorry for my English, maybe it's not going to be that fluent, but I'm doing my best. So FIRA USA, yeah, that's the first edition we are launching in October. The idea of this 3 days event is to bring the autonomous systems and the robotics to farmers, to growers here, to better understand what are the challenges and also what are the solutions already marketed. So those 3 days events are split into three thematics, let's say. The first day will be dedicated to the R&D day for the project research, the researchers, the students, and so on. The second day will be dedicated to the business day with the expo zone, networking times, and panel discussions and breakout sessions. And finally, on the third day, we will go in field here in Fresno State Farm to watch demos of robots and how they are developing their tools. So we are very, very happy to be here. That's very important also for you to know that today we officially launch the registration that are made online. So you will see the link on the slide. So that's the official launch. Thank you very much.
Gwendoline, your English is impeccable, especially compared to my French. Well, good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure and a privilege to welcome all of you to, we believe, the nation's unrivaled food production capital. We even like to say around the world. You'd be hard-pressed to find a place as special when it comes to food production as right here in the Central Valley. Surrounding this area right here, almost 14,000 farming enterprises, 5 million acres of irrigated farmland. Like, this place is the food capital of the nation, and we believe the world. And it makes sense that we would also be the birthing place for next generation innovation and technology that lifts and positively impacts our communities. And isn't just a benefit to our farmers, although God knows we need that, but also benefits the communities of people who support food production. We at the Central Valley Community Foundation are so pleased to be a partner with all of you and to play a small part in helping to make sure that we bring all the pieces together to diversify our economy, to add more higher quality jobs in this region, and to make sure that our communities are connected to that economic opportunity, and that we can continue to be the unrivaled food production capital of the nation and the world. This conference is really a dream come true. I think about the last 25 years that many people, even longer, have spent trying to get to the place where all of these pieces are right here and ready to go and ready to positively impact the region. We're thrilled to be a partner at the Central Valley Community Foundation, grateful to UC Ag and Natural Resources, UC Merced, Fresno State, the growers in the region, the workers, and the folks who want to see this be a vibrant place and want to see sustainable food production for not just our families, but for generations from now. So this conference really marks a significant opportunity for us to see those pieces come together and to benefit the people and the places of the Central Valley. So congratulations, everyone. Looking forward to October.
Good morning. As the Dean of the Jordan College, I'm happy to welcome you to my territory, Fresno State. We're happy to be a partner in this effort. A trained workforce in order to invent, maintain, and operate robots is going to be essential for the future of California agriculture. And we at Fresno State strive to be leaders in the development of that workforce. I think that the workforce of the future is going to require interdisciplinary teams of people who understand not only engineering and computer science, but soil science, water, how to deliver that irrigation and the chemicals. So we need plant physiologists, pathologists, and entomologists. And we're very interested in working on campus to see if we can create some of those intersections of disciplines here, so that when our students graduate, they're used to working with people who speak a foreign language. And I'm not talking French. I'm talking a soil scientist who's being able to communicate with a computer scientist, computer engineer who can talk to somebody that understands agronomy. We already have examples of a lot of these kinds of robotic systems in place, and you'll see some of those today. But they're going to be essential to the future of the industry. Fresno State, through Dean Ram Nuna from the Engineering College, has been working closely with Ashley's organization on this F3 partnership. And one of the goals of that partnership is to develop the workforce of the future. This is another entity doing that, this group here, and we're really pleased to be a partner with you.
Questions? Yes, sir.
I'm Brad Hooker from AgriPulse, and I was going to ask, since I cover policy, are there any labor issues with being able to get a new workforce trained, and any kind of regulatory hurdles, especially with the labor department, and being able to, have an autonomous tractor, for example?
Absolutely. I'm happy to turn that over to one of you or one of our startup in the audience, but it's a critical challenge, and maybe look at my robotics companies. It's maybe the critical challenge to establishing autonomous vehicles in the field is some of the current requirements, regulations that require drivers to be in autonomous vehicles currently. So that's a Curtis, and look at you, or anybody else want to say more about that?
Yep. Curtis Garner with Burden Robotics. The OSHA challenges with having a driver in the seat do preclude operations from being fully autonomous. There are a few of us out there that are actually doing it. You're kind of in a gray area, but it'd be wonderful to work with other partners to remove that gray area and make it legally acceptable for us to do that.
There's a number of efforts that are happening with the California legislature to address those issues, so we can create autonomous, allow for driverless vehicles to actually work in the field, but not requiring a driver. So there's a number of lobbying efforts that are happening right now. Say that again.
Do you want to talk to Blue White about that?
Yeah, Blue White, would you want to comment on that? I mean, more the better on that topic, because I know it's a critical issue for your industry.
Good morning. Blue White Robotics. So we internally, two things we do in order to tackle the regulation gap. So we first of all have an internal training program in order for us to build people who are ready to operate robots without sitting inside the tractors. That's one. And we also have a safety program that we run 500 hours inside the cab, although we run autonomously. Then we keep those supervision with the robots when we run them without a person in the cab. And then our latest phase is when we run 500 hours without any person supervising the robots at all, fully remotely. And that's when we say, okay, we have validated that operation for autonomous operation, and this is how we go out to the regulators, to OSHA, to AgSafe, partners that we work with, and the growers, and we put a stamp on autonomous operation.
Great, thank you. Other questions? Yeah, Jeff. Feel free to direct them to any of the panelists or all, whatever you like.
Well, I'm Don Wright with WaterRights.net. We try to do a good job of covering irrigation in the valley. I have three questions. Has any of these companies looked into if they're grant eligible, if there's grant funding from, the state or the feds or some source that would allow growers to start using this product? The second thing, are these all startups that are funded or in the midst of their funding cycles? Are they going to be here next year? And thirdly, what happens to the labor force once, I don't want to sound like a Luddite, but what does happen to the labor force? Is anybody looking at that? So those are my questions.
Great. I'm going to take the first one, and I'm going to let some of my esteemed colleagues answer some of the other ones. The first one is, there are a number of different grants available, both what they call, there's several different National Science Foundation, other grants for helping to translate technologies, particularly that come out of research or government, into industry. And I'm not certain if any of these companies here have taken advantage of that. There are other government grants available to do various types of projects with industry, and again, you guys as individual companies will need to talk about those. But yes, the short answer is there are a number of grants. They're really not meant to grow and scale companies, though. They're really meant to prove out technology and get it started. But it's really meant for industry to find a way to scale those up, and that's been part of the challenge with these in particular, but I think you're going to see 3 examples of companies that are here, they're doing it, they're successful, and they can give you that sort of their path to success. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Walt, because I'm sure he's got some good answers too.
Yeah, I can take 2 and 3. So 2, in terms of the startups, we just rolled out the first annual Harvest Automation Report, and what we found was 75% of the mechanization startups in agtech pre-A round, right? So let that sink in from the speaker. So 75% of a few dozen startups are basically seed capital, friends and family capital, bootstrap capital, very early stage, right? We know that means the product is not quite there, they're not quite ready to scale. So what about the rest? The other 25% of the startups in that space, A and B round. If you think about capital as a thesis for each round, the A round is, great, I've got a basic product, I'm getting ready to put it into market. B is I'm getting ready to put it into market in a larger way, and C is I'm ready to scale. So when I say that 3 out of 4 have no A round, and the other 1 out of 4 has an A or a B round, none of these folks are scaled, right? And if you look at the folks that haven't made it, that's about how it plays out. So all of these companies are still very early with a lot to do. That's why the grower conversations and the field trials and the case studies have to happen for all these folks. And in terms of labor, I think your question was, what's happening to the workforce with robotics, and I want to make it very clear that all of the work we're doing with robots doesn't take away a single job. We know this because the H2A usage has gone from 48,000 in 2005 to 275,000 immigrant workforce in 2020. So we 5x the international workforce because we don't have the workers here. The robots are trying as hard as they can, folks like Curtis and the rest, to close the gap between labor we need and labor we do not have. So it's a gap fill, not a job kill.
I'll add that too. I think that's a great question, and something I think as community of practice and community and economic development have been wrestling with for the last couple of decades. Dean Neff mentioned the F3 partnership, the Fresno Merced Future of Food Innovation Initiative, which is right now competing for a national competition with the Economic Development Administration in a regional challenge grant. One of the major components that we're proposing to take on, inspired by and in partnership with Western growers, is creating a pipeline, a regional system that can upskill today's workforce with the skills and tools they need to be the folks who are benefiting from these higher value, permanent, full-time, dedicated jobs that get created. If we can headquarter, at least on the West Coast or in the US, if we can headquarter the manufacturing and development of this equipment for our own customers who live right here in the region, plus export that around the world, that actually opens up a pathway to diversify the economy, but in a way that sustains food production. So the folks who access those jobs are the people today who may be at risk, at the greatest risk of automation. So let's make sure they're the ones at the front of the line to get access to the training and the upskilling so that they benefit from jobs that are going to pay. I mean, a very conservative estimate is that these jobs will pay at least 60% higher than today's farm and field worker. So there's a great opportunity here. It is a little bit of a trust fall. And we've got to scurry to pull together the regional infrastructure. Our community colleges are our main partners here. 8 colleges in the 5-county area that propose to create a pipeline that could train 8,400 people a year to be prepared and equipped to run this equipment, to manufacture it, and to be on the leading edge of adoption and increase their pay as a result.
Just let them keep the microphone. Any other questions? Rob?
Come on, for Gwendoline, you have a unique perspective because you have the ability to look at what's happening in ag robotics globally. Are we at the front of the line? How is California doing comparatively to what you see in Europe, Asia, and so forth?
Well, that's completely different actually. We think, and we can tell from the people who are meeting here, that people are, let's say, innovators, and they are waiting for agtech, and they're already using many digital tools in farms, and that's the main difference, because we see that in France especially it's more old-fashioned farming, and so that's maybe the the biggest difference, and that's why we are launching the event here also, because we know that if there is somewhere, some places in the world that the adoption is made, then it's going to be easier for every other country to see that it's working somewhere, so it can be working everywhere else.
Thanks. I was wondering if you could just speak a little bit to the challenge of just putting the conference on in general. I know just robotics for specialty crops alone is very diverse. California agriculture is very diverse. But you guys are also talking about making it national and international. How can you find a focus in all of this?
I'll start by saying really the partnership that's assembled here and in the audience, to me, is what is so exciting about this, because we focused on not just robotics for specialty crops, but just having that focus of robotics for agriculture in general is a differentiator for this event compared to, say, World Ag Expo, which is a much broader event for a range of different things, or World Agritech in San Francisco, like somebody mentioned, which is aimed more at corporates and investors. This is going to have, through Western growers, big farmer presence, which is something you generally see absent at most of these events, and one of the reasons I'm so excited about Western growers participating. You've got three leading, universities working together here: University of California, UCANR, UC Merced, Fresno State. Here we've got this regional initiative led by Ashley and team, the Fresno Merced Future of Food Initiative, and of course the global experience through FIRA running these events for a global audience. So really, we've got the California innovators, we've got the national innovators, and really have a global innovation team. So that's anyone else want to add to that? Okay.
We have several academic organizations here. This is happening outside of the academic world. Can anybody say what UC Merced or Fresno State or any of the community colleges are doing already to fill this gap that is happening right now?
I'll turn this one over to you.
Thank you. There are some things that are going on at Fresno State, and in cooperation with UC Merced, we're starting to do a couple of things. Our president just recently put together 3 colleges. He brought in the 3 deans, and then I'll stand over here. That way. Okay. Where is the screen? Okay. So Leland Sandoval, our president, asked Ron Nuna from the Lyles College of Engineering, me from the Jordan College, and Julie Olson-McKenna from the Craig School of Business to come together to talk about how, as 3 colleges, we could better prepare our students in the areas of economic development, sustainable economic development, and entrepreneurship. It doesn't matter where I stand. So we're doing that. Between the Lyles College of Engineering and the Jordan College of Agriculture, we're in a planning stage for a Center for Engineering. What are you calling that?
Innovation Design.
Engineering Innovation Design with agriculture as a focus area, because so much of the engineering design that is needed in the future is agricultural, and so we have this partnership going on. We have in our college a new agricultural systems management major that is doing some of these kinds of things now on an entry-level scale, how to prepare our students to understand the role of sensors, sending that information somewhere where an artificial intelligence decides what to do, and then sending that information back to a device that will actually deliver whatever we're trying to do. So you can imagine at some time in the future, wouldn't it be great to have a sensor on every almond tree that was telling something it's too wet or too dry, and that something then sends back a signal that says, put more water on it or stop the water. So those kinds of things are just, again, at Fresno, they're kind of at the starting area.
Gabe, are you ready? I'll take it back. Okay. I'll just add, let's say this for more than one I want to point out Dr. Josh Spears from UC Merced. There he is right there. talk to him. And I'll just add that I think two things are really key for the universities and colleges. A, this intersection that Dennis talked about between the technologists, the computer science and engineers, and the plant scientists and agriculture and food scientists. Them speaking, cross-pollinating between that plant-machine interface and getting students aware of both. There's a lot of initiatives that are happening on that level. And then just that collaboration. You see, Fresno State, UC Merced, University of California, all here working together. Our community colleges are key partners, as Ashley talked about. It's that collaboration between various types of colleges and universities and that interface between the various types of disciplines and technologies that we're thinking about completely reimagining how we do that are the key things we're doing in the education space. We can get 4 examples really out there.
Do you want to mention iCreate?
Yeah, no, you do that.
Okay, well, least expert in the room on this topic, but I'll just say, when people get together, as Gabe mentioned, and are in the same space and share resources, like that's the seed ground for innovation. So to see Fresno State, UC Merced, UC Ag and Natural Resources, industry, community groups, and work organizations all come together around a common vision is powerful. I've been doing community and economic development work in the Central Valley for almost 25 years, and I can tell you this has never happened. We've been working towards and for this moment. It's a big deal. One of the things we propose to really cement this partnership is called iCreate. We're great at acronyms, by the way, if you hadn't noticed. So the Innovation Center for, something about research. Yes, let's crowdsource this name right here. Right? Research, entrepreneurship, ag tech and engineering. Did I get it right? Thank you, Dr. Mears, Dr. Newman. So a physical space where students, researchers, industry, investors, community can see it. It's sometimes difficult when your headquartered industry is spread across 5 million acres that doesn't have a physical presence to guide investors to. So iCreate is envisioned to be headquartered in downtown Fresno. This is one of the things we're proposing to the federal government. So if anybody knows a member of Congress, you might mention, this is a good thing to invest and support. But finally, we'll see all these pieces coming together in one place, and it'll be accessible for folks, whether they're startups or they're folks who are looking for investments, or the emerging workforce or those who are in the workforce today. So anyway, those pieces coming together in proximity in downtown Fresno, close to a future high-speed rail station that connects Fresno and Merced in like a matter of minutes. It's going to be pretty cool.
Paige Gilligan, and I'm representing California Women for Ag. And I'm curious as to what your time frame is for implementation and actually bringing all of these wonderful things to the valley.
Well, I'm going to say that part of what we wanted to convey today is that the future is here. These things are here now, and I know that. So when you talk to and see these startups working and who are actually selling products and working with farmers every day, they are here. And really, what we see with this event is a way to help kind of propel that even faster and even farther. So there's much that is here. There's still, of course, a lot to be done still. We could go off, from harvesting and weeding. Walt could talk for probably an hour on the various topics and use cases in agriculture that need automation. And so some are here. Weeding, thinning are good examples. Some things like harvesting these really delicate stone fruit or citrus is still some ways out. Anyone want to speak to the timeline on some of these things? Ashley?
Okay, so I'm gonna up the ante. Let's leave Congress out of it. If anyone knows President Biden, you could put in a good word for the F3 proposal. We're proposing a $100 million investment, and if funded, we're talking about these things happening over the next 4 years, with workforce development, innovation, entrepreneurship, supporting the research partners and interfacing with industry, et cetera. So it's an aggressive timeline, and it is going to require capital. But you know what? Our region contributes every single day to the nation and to the world in ways that are really unparalleled and unrivaled. We really think it's time for the nation to care about what's happening in this region. So we don't think it's asking too much, and we urge support of our proposal.
All right, any other questions before we begin the,
Are there any inroads up to Sacramento? Because they seem to block more than the feds, in my experience anyway.
Sure, why not? I'll just, so it's complicated. Frankly, we wouldn't even be in this federal contest, which I appreciate is one part. I mean, this conference we're talking about here today is evidence of the fact that all these partners are coming together and we have what it takes to really seed this kind of next-gen innovation. So we're pulling a lot of pieces here together, but we wouldn't be in that contest if it wasn't for support from Sacramento. The governor and the legislature provided $32 million of seed capital to get all this work started, and we're now leveraging that for hopefully another $100 million investment from the feds. So we know there's support in a lot of ways, but there are a lot of stakeholders that have voices and have different jurisdiction in Sacramento. What we're trying to make happen here in this region, though, is we're trying to show that you can pull together all of those different interests. That there's nobody that can dispute the need for food production for now and forever. Like that. Like there are a lot of people who argue about different industries that should go away. Nobody can argue that food shouldn't be available. I know, I'm seeing the look on your face. You're like, yeah, actually, I do argue that. But it is in everyone's interest to find a way to produce food sustainably, to diversify our economy, and provide higher quality and more jobs in a way that actually supports food production as well, and to ensure that the residents of our communities today are the ones who benefit from that. So that's the puzzle we're putting together, and we're finding that as we're able to hold that coalition and hold that vision, there are ways to navigate some of the complicated issues that happen in Sacramento. So, I mean, it's early, but that's our path.
I think we should also mention the extraordinary support from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, too. Secretary Karen Ross, who all of us know up here and many of you likely know, has been a huge champion for this particular work of the Fresno Drive. They're actually one of the founding partners of that, and Secretary Ross sits on the board. Recently funded a workforce development initiative that Western Growers is leading. So in addition to the legislature and the governor, the CDFA has been a very powerful ally and voice for us in Sacramento too. Okay, I think we're at time, but if there's any final questions, all right, so I'm not seeing any hands now, so let's head out to the demonstration field in 1 sec. Before we head out, I want to make sure to point out, I already pointed out, the Far West Equipment Dealers Association, Shane Wilker, is going to be a key partner of this event, representing the dealer networks and bringing the manufacturers to this event, really key. Also, Dr. Josh Beers, who I pointed out, one of the key partners of the Fresno Merced Future Food Initiative. Both will be available for interviews in addition to the rest of us, and a number of other partners as well in the room, so happy to point people out to you. So why don't we just head straight on back, and our company partners will start the demos. Thank you.